Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining another episode of the RDKB TV, where we're speaking with different directors around the table just to see how they're doing during this COVID pandemic, along with their areas, communities, towns, villages, everything else. So I'm Diane Langman. I'm the mayor of the Village of Warfield and also the chair of the Regional District of Kootenay-Boundary. Today we have Director Linda Worley with us, who is the Area B Director, and Roly Russell, who is the Area D Director. So thank you both for joining us today. And Linda, how are you doing?
Thank you, Chair Langman. And I just want to say that you'll notice me looking down because I've made notes so I don't forget anything. So good morning, Kootenay and Boundary, and to our neighbors in the Boundary and Central and East Kootenay, my thoughts and prayers are with you and your residents as you work through all the challenges and natural disasters we're facing at this time. The communities and residents, industrial, commercial businesses of Area B have similar pressures that municipalities have, and they also have some different challenges in rural areas, as I'm sure Director Russell will point to as well. Residents, for the most part, seem to be following provincial guidelines of self-distancing and generally staying home as much as possible. Parents are keeping children safe in their own yards, away from other children. I've noticed there's a lot more family interaction, which is just a very positive thing. I'm seeing more time spent, family time being spent through this forced lack of work for people and for working from home, which has been, I think, is a positive during this. And I'm finding some residents are saying that as they're walking by and I'm waving at them or whatever. All Area B parks and playgrounds have remained closed until very recently, where Rivervale and Oasis have opened their grounds. However, the pickleball court remains closed at this time. And elsewhere in Janelle, the spray park is closed and will remain closed until further instruction is given. The community halls are closed as well and we're using this time to do some regular maintenance and some upgrades on some of them, having contractor go in and work singularly on a certain project, leaving and having someone else come in. So it has given us a bit of time and space without rentals to be able to do this, to improve that experience for everyone who enjoys our halls. When the halls reopen, there'll be some masks available that I've made available for the hall users who have not provided their own as they come into the hall. And hopefully this will work during the opening and phasing period of opening. The closure of these parks and halls has been very stressful for the residents. This is the heart of their communities, some of which are, very isolated communities like Casino, where they're very nuclear to that area. And it's been hard for them. It's heartwarming, though, to see the communities coming together, going out and getting groceries and for shut-ins and prescriptions and supplies for the most vulnerable who can't get out. And during this time, it's been very heartwarming to see that happen and to hear that stories. As always, I've told the residents, you contact me anytime you just want to chat about anything, and this has always been my practice. And they have, but I'm finding my phone ringing more often, which is great because I get to speak with them and perhaps give them a little bit of clarity on what's happening. Maybe I hope offer them a little comfort and a friendly voice during this time, which people are lacking. I'd like to commend the ongoing essential care that home nurses provide, especially now with the elderly and infirmed who can't get outside. The self-isolation would be much more difficult without the human touch that these brave souls give to folks as they go into their homes and provide this care. And also to the area doctors who provide the telehealth appointments. I think that's really important because it gives a sense, especially with elderly who have ongoing problems, and they just need to see that doctor's face. They need to speak with them, and get that self-assurance that they're still important. Also, immense gratitude to our essential workers, our firefighters and our ambulance providers who answer the call in all of this and still go out and do the things that they are trained and in their hearts that they know that they want to do and provide for people. Also, you know, our telecommunication workers, we forget about them. They continue to provide and ensure connectivity through the home and health alerting systems for so many that are living alone, so many elderly and those that live alone. So they can reach help if they need it, and that is so important. The business communities in Area B have started reopening and under guidelines, and hopefully they'll be able to bounce back and flourish. I'd like to thank the neighboring municipalities that provide food services, the food banks and support services for residents, the local church providers who do the services online that are so important to keep people's faith going and somewhere to give thanks to. Gratitude to the Masks for All program from Rosslyn, which includes surrounding Area B residents and on whose behalf there's been a contribution made toward the mask program to help the problem of the COVID stay in line. For the most part, it appears that residents have adapted and conformed to the recommendations of the Provincial Health Authority and all guidelines going forward in the new normal for our future. It's my belief that we'll all get through this, our difficult time, and with stronger, more compassionate and caring of our neighbors and more appreciative of the importance of health and welfare for our communities and all that reside in them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Worley. And Director Russell.
Hi, thanks, Diane. Yeah, I think just in the pre-conversation to this call, Diane had asked me how I was doing, and you know, I think it's as we talked about, it's a overwhelming thing because I think we're all getting pretty tired and pretty worn out with this whole process, and I appreciate. I think Diane, you had a good comment there in terms of coping. You know, is maybe a better answer than good in some situations right now. I think we all recognize this has been really hard on our communities and the people that create our communities. So yeah, coping is a good answer, and I guess it also highlights to me kind of a reminder that there's a lot of support out there if you feel like maybe you're not quite coping, to make sure you reach out to some of the support systems that are out there, and Interior Health is the best kind of starting point. There's a lot of resources that you can find online for those if you feel like you aren't coping well. I guess so. The question is kind of around, you know, how our communities are doing, and I won't get into the detailed updates because I feel like there's some, you know, we've already been having a lot of those conversations for the Rio Grande Forks area. Coming from a kind of a higher level, I know some of you have heard me talk before about the concerns around the footprint of what we call the footprint of the pandemic, and the danger in my concerns have been around what that secondary footprint looks like. So that's the mental health impacts, the economic impacts and so on that are beyond the medical footprint and the physical impacts of the pandemic. And that secondary footprint is potentially much larger than the primary medical health impact footprint, and that concerns me. I think that's probably the one piece that I would highlight, is that I think realistically, for me, I'm pretty nervous about what the next year is going to look like for us in our communities, and how much impact this is going to have on the nature of our communities. Those of us that you know, as a child, I remember going to Spokane, going to the White Elephant store in Spokane, which was always a highlight. And I just read yesterday that the White Elephant had decided that they were going to shut down, and that's a good, I think, you know, anecdote, a good story, because my understanding of why they're shutting down is not even financial as much as just that they recognize that this COVID challenge has made them kind of reassess their value structure, and highlights the importance of family and friends, kind of as Linda, I think, also alluded to, and you know, it's an interesting and concerning piece. So there's a positive component of that in terms of that recognition of the value of family and getting people a little bit introspective about the values and the decisions they're making. The part that's concerning, I think, to me, is that we're going to see a lot of those businesses probably close in our communities because they haven't been able to weather either the emotional challenges or the financial challenges. And so that, I think, really highlights the value and the importance of us supporting our communities, whatever that looks like. So supporting our communities by keeping your business with those small, medium businesses, particularly in your community, that probably now more than ever need that support and need that financial energy, and just recognizing and supporting local community wherever that's possible. Certainly for us in Rio Grande Forks and the city of Grand Forks as well, of course, this, you know, with the COVID, I think, really eroded our kind of our reservoirs of tolerance and patience to manage things. And then we had a flood on top of that all. And that has been extremely painful, I think, for a lot of us in Rio Grande Forks. Certainly been very difficult for myself. And so, you know, I don't know how much I'm not going to get into it too much here, but just making sure that you know, we recognize that's been really, really hard. It's been a challenge for all of us, and not certainly what we needed at this point in the process. Not to be all negative, you know, and Linda mentioned much of what I was going to say in terms of, you know, that positive part of it that I think is really nice to see is that kind of focus on family and recognizing that there's a silver lining here in terms of, you know, certainly we've had more communication with distant family members, even via, you know, Zoom and so on, and so there's a positive there too, in terms of maybe strengthening some of those family connections. And also, you know, another positive is I see a lot of people getting out and enjoying our local recreation opportunities. And so I encourage people to do that, whether that's getting out for walks or cycling and so on in safe ways in our communities. And so that's neat to see. And Linda did a great job of thanking a bunch of those people that I was going to, you know, those professions that I was going to thank. And I guess the one that I would add is just recognizing that it really takes a whole community to keep that fabric of our communities together. And so, you know, it's easier to see those people that are on the front lines as being integral to the success and health of our communities. And yet really, we need to have the support of the cleaning crews and the people that are cooking dinner at the end of the day for those people that are out on the front lines and stuff as well. And so that list really is pretty endless. And so thanks to everybody, and make sure we're recognizing the supports that everybody provides to keep our communities operating, even if they're in those positions that are potentially pretty thankless and invisible from the broader perspective. So very good. And I guess just, you know, we all have been pretty appreciative of Bonnie Henry and her comments. I really do appreciate her focus on being kind. I think that's very valuable. And so that's, I guess, what I would end on is just making sure we recognize the value of compassion in all of this. And so thanks to everybody for keeping us all going, and take care.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Roly and Linda, both for the work that you do in both of your areas. We really appreciate it. All right, everyone, stay safe, wash your hands, maintain that physical distancing. Bye.